This comic is rated R for adult content and violence, just like I like it. Coming to paperback and e-readers, the Steam Season of the Witch Girl. The aspiring angel takes on a wicked teenage witch in this action-packed all-new Steam series adventure. Pre-order your copy of the Steam Season of the Witch Girl at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Before I get into this review of the Exorcist Club number 3, I wanted to give everybody an update on the SJS Direct 2025 catalog. Now, the SJS Direct 2025 catalog will kick off on March 21st with the first book, John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side, and you can get that book by pre-ordering it in digital format on Amazon.com right now, or you can also find it at other online booksellers such as Draft the Digital and its affiliates such as the iBookstore, and you can also pre-order a digital copy on Google Play. Or you can wait till March 21st to put in your order for a paperback where the man who rules the world will be taking on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this all-new John Haynes series adventure. And after John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side debuts on March 21st, I will be launching a Steam Season of the Witch Girl. And in this Esteem series book, the aspiring angel will be taking on a wicked teenage witch in this follow-up to the Esteem series story, Esteem the Witches of Eastland. And again, you can pre-order Esteem Season of the Witch Girl on Amazon.com on Kindle, or you can pre-order a digital copy at other online booksellers such as Draft the Digital or Google Play, or you can wait for a paperback copy on April 25th. Now, after this, I will be releasing Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer, and this will be the first light novel from SJS Direct, meaning that this will be the first book to feature images in the interior. I hired a couple of great artists to put together the interiors for this book, and this book will be a big one at over 600 pages, but it will detail Matilda's journeys as a goth model in the year 2000, and this new millennium story has a lot of fun references to the new millennium and Y2K, and I'm hoping you'll be there to see Matilda on that journey. Event coming in May. I'm working on that book right now. Now, I wanted to do an ISIS book. Unfortunately, I just did not have any ideas, and rather than rush something out and it be poor quality, I decided not to release an ISIS book this year. However, I'm working on an ISIS book right now called ISIS Runway of Doom, and I'm also working on a flashback ISIS story called No Woman is an Island. So I'm hoping to have ISIS stories out sooner rather than later, and hoping to get things together as related to that. Now, as I've been working on my own stories, I have been out here supporting a lot of great indie creators, like the creators here at Red Sea Comics, who have been doing a fantastic job on this comic called The Exorcist Club. Now, The Exorcist Club is a fun comic that is everything that Ghostbusters 2016 wanted to be, in having a team of females who are out here dealing with ghosts, and it basically executes the concept the way it should have been executed, because the writers just knew how to tell a great story, and they do tell a really solid story in this third issue. Unfortunately, this third issue has an issue as related to the overall story that makes it a little bit off. Now, when it comes down to storytelling, usually what really can make or break a story is the second act. And these writers, again, they tell a great story, but there's a problem with this book, basically as related to the overreaching arc that basically affects many comics out here, in that when you have comics, when people write them, again, the issues you have is with the second act, because the second act is where you're trying to build the rising action that you establish with the first plot point. And again, it can be hard because you're starting to try to build and move the story forward as you're on an incline with the story. And that's what happened here with the third issue of The Exorcist Club, after we got that plot point revealed as related to Brittany in the second issue, which basically wrapped up the first plot point of the story. So with this third issue, the writers are trying to again establish and build even more momentum after giving us that revelation that spun the action out and left us with that surprise. So I understand why this book was a little bit off, because you have to try to regain your momentum and try to keep moving the story forward. But this overall story, again, the ideas are there and the execution is on point, but it just gets a little bogged down as related to this whole book, because it's a book in the second act, and we're moving towards the second plot point that basically twists the story around once more. Now, the writers, Chris Moses and Anthony Stokes, they do a good job with this the overall story, and Dario Marconi does a great job with the art. The art here is absolutely fantastic, and Marcos Martin's colors really pop. I mean, the team does a great job, and the story starts out very well. It starts out with a mall in the year 2000, and I really like seeing that they do talk about this as a new millennium. This is where a mall Santa basically is looking to try to get this golden package as related to this whole promotion at the mall. I can't show you the first page because the first page is a little too racy, and this is a family channel, so I can't show you the first page because the first page is R-rated with a little adult content, so can't show you that page. But the Santa, his elf, and another helper basically are looking for this golden box, which has a check for $100,000. So we get a good, again, main characters, what they want and why we should care as related to the antagonist right here. And this is one of the things I liked about this, is that we did get to see the antagonist established as main characters in what they want, because this is something a lot of writers don't understand. They'll just write bad guys and then won't give them anything to do, and that makes them into jobbers. But we have antagonists here with actual mission for something they want, and we see a reason for them caring. But their quest to get this box basically leads to the demise of the elf and the Santa, who basically, again, Vince here is a bit of a pervert, and basically leads to his demise and leads to this woman basically leaving, and again, because she doesn't want to get caught. And then 25 years later, we are seeing Christmas 2025, and we get to see the girls of the Exorcist Club doing some Christmas shopping as related to this. Again, this is New Year 2025. It's 2024. So 25 years later, they are in the mall. And one of the things I wish we could have gotten was, again, the names of the characters in this page to introduce them to the reader. This is something that writers have to understand. Again, when you're doing a comic, you're not only just dealing with the people who've read your book regularly, but you also are dealing with people who are new readers, and you want to go out here and introduce the characters by their names, so that we know who they are. That's something you want to do as a writer to your readers. You want to introduce the characters to the readers by having them mention their names on the first page that they're on, because that allows people to know who's talking and who's in the story. And that's a mistake that, again, a couple of first-time writers usually make as related to things, because they're not really aware of their page. And again, you have to be very aware of your page when you're doing a comic or you're doing a novel. You have to be very aware of your page and how it's presented to the reader. You have to be careful about that. You have to be careful, because when it comes down to this, it can basically, again, just take the reader out of the story, take the reader straight out of the story if they don't know who's talking to who. So when I look at this page, when I see Seo Hyung and the black girl, again, I see how they could have easily, again, fit that into the balloons, where they could have just said, maybe we shouldn't have waited to go Christmas Eve to go gift shopping Seo Hyung. And then she says to the other girl, malls are dead, her name, and then ever hear of Amazon, would have worked great for introducing these characters. And then come in this other panel and say, Oh, you sure, Brittany? This ad is like from 25 years ago. Perfect introduction to all the characters in one page. Let us get to know who these characters are and who's talking to each other. That's all you needed to do, and again, would have made this page just that much more easier to read and brought us into the story and let us get to know the characters. Now, the panel of, again, Seo Hyung, imagining what this is a good panel overall, and shows us what she would go out here and buy as related to stuff. And again, now we get her name, Sandra. Again, this should have been on the first page. You really want to do that on the first page, and you want to do that when you introduce the characters, get them into the story. And again, they're in there looking to try to find this box. Again, and I like this panel because it's nice contrast as related to the action, and reintroduces us to the ghost, Vince, and his helper, and the action starts to build up in the story where we see the older woman. Again, she's about 40, 50 years old, still at this mall, still dealing with kids, which is really sad because this is just a seasonal job that people, again, make for about $100 a week, but she's still there, still wearing the same outfit, still going for the same $100,000, but she could have got it for more money. But this just shows, again, the desperation of these characters and builds into this story. Now, I don't want to give away too much of this comic, but the action here of Exorcist Club number 3 is pretty solid. The action here is very solid all around. However, the only thing that really is an issue is that it gets bogged down by the second act blues. And again, the second act blues is something that can happen to many writers who are just getting their stories to the marketplace. And it's something you gotta watch out for. You really gotta watch out for that second act blues, because it can be the difference between the reader coming into the story or the reader stepping away from the series. I mean, when it comes down to the second act, this is the make or break for a book as related to sales, and it can be the thing that can mean the difference between a customer continuing to pick your book up, or your readers walking away. And you have to be very careful with your second act. And that's something that I have learned over the years working on different stories. And I basically found a way to speed up that second act when I was writing the 2014 story, Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess. Now, Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess was the follow-up to a story I did called Isis, the Beauty Myth. And with the Beauty Myth, I established this character, Rahima Sanders, who runs the Sepia Cosmetics Company, and she finds out that Isis is immortal, and she wants to figure out Isis's beauty secrets. And after that confrontation with Isis and Rahima, basically a jealous woman, starts to use science to make herself into a goddess. But when I did that second story, I wanted to move that story quickly, and what I learned is a technique to move that second act along, and move that second act along very quickly so that the story can keep the reader engaged. And as I'm keeping the reader engaged, we can move to the third act and the climax, and the reader can get to the satisfying conclusion and anticipate the next copy. That's the goal that I did with Isis Wrath of the Cyber Goddess. And as I learned, how to move my second act quickly, it basically, again, allowed me to be able to keep readers engaged on most of my stories. Now, when it came down to writing, I use a technique of techniques from screenwriting and the novel to make stories like I do for my series. And I understand that if you want to move stories in an overreaching arc, you really, again, gotta watch how you pace your stories as related to the second act, because, again, I'll repeat it once more, the second act can be the make or break book, especially when you're doing a series. It can be the make or break because, again, this is the one where either you keep the reader engaged or the reader walks away from the story. Now, this book, as related to its being an overreaching arc, again, takes us into the story of these ghosts. And as it takes us into the story of these ghosts, it further delves deeper into the mystery as related to Brittany and whether or not she's a ghost, and further delves deeper into the reasons as related to Brittany being out of her body. I'm not going to give all of that away. No, I'm not going to give all of that away at all, because again, The team here has worked hard on this book, and I don't want to take away from their hard work. No, I don't want to take away from their hard work. So I'm only gonna again just give you that little revelation as related to the story. That part of the story with the plot twist again is really well done. But this book has that issue again of bogging down as related to the second act blues. But there again, it's a great book all around. Again, really recommend you get this book. But it's something that again every writer has to learn as they're working on books. I mean, it's all part of the learning curve of writing. Is you've got to learn how to again work those second acts. I learned it with Wrath of the Cyber Goddess, and then I learned it again as related to other books like Esteem the Witches of Eastland, where I just basically figured out, okay, Act 2 is finished. We've finished Act 2. We can get into the conclusion, and that's where I did Esteem Ascension, which basically was the third act, the climax, and the conclusion of the overreaching arc. I realized, okay, the overreaching arc, we've hit plot point number 2, and again, plot point number 2 is a rough road because you've got to continue to build on the momentum once you stop with Act 1. But it's something that again you have to learn about, and I wanted to again take this moment to teach because I was going to wait till I got the paper copies of the Exorcist Club and another book, Pumpkin. I was going to wait till I got the paper copies to do the review. However, I just really wanted to get this lesson out because as a writer, I wanted to teach my techniques for writing that I use not only in my books like Esteem Season of the, well, you really can't see this, it's Esteem Season of the Witch Girls paperback copy. I use these techniques in my writing for all my books and even my comic John Haynes at Death's Door. I use these techniques, and I know a lot of aspiring comic book writers watch my channel, a lot of comic book artists watch my channel, and I wanted to give those viewers a lesson in writing. I wanted to give them a lesson in writing. I'm trying to add more lessons in writing so that you guys can sit and learn a bit more about the craft of storytelling. This is something that many other comics YouTube channels don't do. They don't sit down and review independent comics from independent creators. They'll complain about Marvel and DC, and that's not what I want to do because I have a love for comics and I want to see people learn this craft and get better at this craft. And two, I wanted to be able to teach some techniques so that people can learn how to improve in their craft and become better writers and artists as related to storytelling. I wanted to help people again as related to developing their craft because for me, this isn't about complaining about making things change. No, change comes from creators, and creators change when they learn more about the business, because a lot of people will sit there and complain saying, oh, these books are woke or they are social justice, but what they don't see is that a lot of these writers don't have experience, and again, they don't have experience because nobody's teaching experience. And what's even worse is the people complaining about the books, they don't have much experience like I do as related to writing. So I wanted to go out here and not just only review these books from here on in, I want to go out here and start teaching technique because I know creators watch these reviews and I want to help them get better at things. Now, The Exorcist Club number 3 is a great comic. It's really rock solid and really good all around. However, the only issue is that the things as related to the names of Sandra and Seo Hyung not being on that first page, and the whole issue of the having an issue of second act blues. But it's a solid book all around that moves the story along, and I highly recommend you get The Exorcist Club and Pumpkin number 4 from Obscura Comics and Exorcist Club from Red Sea Comics. Lots of great comics are out there, but you just have to go find them. And part of that is I want to help you find those comics, so that you can find great books, help you find great books, because while people say the comic book industry is dying as related to Marvel and DC, the indies have lots of great books, and I want to help get those books out there so that people can find these great books and enjoy them and share those great books so that these books can start finding an audience. And because a lot of these guys like Red Sea and many other comic companies, they have websites, and even though this book, I got this from a crowdfunding Kickstarter, I wanted to see that people being able to pick these books all year round as related to their web stores. And again, if I can do anything to help generate sales, that's something I really wanted to do. And again, Exorcist Club number 3, this is what Ghostbusters needs to be. I mean, if Ghostbusters 2016 was as fun as the Exorcist Club, they would have had a blockbuster, because everything in this comic is what I wanted in a Ghostbusters movie with female leads, and the Exorcist Club is just a fun club, a club that I really want to be a part of for that 4th issue. Now, my first full comic, John Haynes at Death's Door, is available on Lulu.com in paperback, and you can check out my writing techniques with John Haynes at Death's Door as related to comics by heading over to Lulu and picking up a paper copy for the same price as it was on the 2022 Kickstarter. And if you want to check out my writing techniques in my stories in the SJS Direct universe, you can find those books in paperback such as the ISIS series, the Steam series, the John Haynes series, and books like the Black Goth Spinsterella trilogy, my Black Sorority novel, The Thetas, my vampire novel, Eternal Night, and many other titles. You can find all those titles on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format, along with my first digital comic, A Steam No Good Deed, which you can get for just 99 cents on Kindle. You can find all those books on Amazon.com in paperback and at Barnes & Noble in paperback, and you can also find them at other online booksellers in digital format, such as Draft the Digital, Google Play, and other retailers, and you can find them in paperback such as Walmart and Target. And if you want to see me be able to do more reviews of comics, you can drop a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App, so I can continue having the money to continue supporting great independent comic creators like Red Seed Comics, and continue to be able to have the money to drop pledges for great comics like the Exorcist Club. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available on Lulu. John Haynes at Death's Door. The man who rules the world takes on the Greek god of death in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes comic book. Get your copy of the first John Haynes comic at Lulu.com today. Coming to paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, A Thorn in My Side. The man who rules the world takes on an agent from the CIA from the Black Boule in this action-packed, all-new John Haynes series adventure. Pre-order your copy of John Haynes' A Thorn in My Side at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS Legacy. The sorority secrets of the goddess next door are revealed in this all-new ISIS series adventure. Get ISIS Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.